What's up, Schmac Talk? Welcome back to another episode. Week 9 in the books. Um, it was week 8. I don't think we did, but yeah.
I don't know.
Hey,
I don't know anymore.
I'm so confused.
I really don't know anymore.
um, but hey, did you happen to watch the Bucks against Wisconsin?
I did. And
What'd you
I
think?
don't know.
What'd you think?
I felt like I've come back down to earth after all this has happened now. And I feel like Kyle McCord has has slightly regressed through the season. Like it seemed like in a game against Wisconsin, and like don't get me wrong, playing at Wisconsin is so much harder than people understand. Just like playing at some other places, even if the team is having like not as good of a year as we think they should, it's still hard to play on the road, especially at night, big time atmosphere. But he just looked like he was making too many silly mistakes. I mean, he had what, two
Yeah,
picks, two
I
fumbles.
think it
I mean,
was three
what
picks,
was
two
it?
fumbles,
I I don't know. It was
but
a decent amount of turnovers, and then it was also what really got me was the intentional grounding.
yeah,
He had at least two intentional grounding, and it ended up putting us out of field goal range. And
yeah,
that's points on the board that you're throwing away. And it was very frustrating to say the least. It was very frustrating, and I don't know how I feel about it right now.
yeah. I definitely see where you're coming from during the game because there were times luckily it was just me and the dog, but a couple times the dog was like, dude, shut the fuck up, dude. Like chill out. Like it's
Yeah.
like I was getting pretty upset with not necessarily because I've kind of been saying it all year. Like I don't think Kyle McCord's ready for like big games. I still think
Yeah.
he's trying to develop in the offense, and we're getting to a point in the season where you know you're starting to Wisconsin being like this big start to hey, these are all pretty good teams you're going to come up against.
Yeah.
Wisconsin at home too. Like I'm sitting there pretty much the whole game just going, this is where we lose. This is literally the gravestone right here for the season.
Mhm.
And
No, I mean, for a little bit, it felt like, you know how like when Urban Meyer was the coach, we were always like, there's one trap game that always gets us.
mm-hmm,
Like it was Iowa one year, it was Purdue another, and we kept looking at like, okay, which game's going to be the game? It felt like that, and I
yeah,
really think it felt like that for 3 quarters, and then what really happened was the defense stepped up and wore Wisconsin down,
yeah,
and that was the difference in the game is the defense. Like they
yeah,
stepped up when needed. That
and
first, like at the end of the first half, that stand to force a field goal, huge. Like
buddy,
monumentous. Like the fact that they stood their ground and said, you know what? You just went the length of the field. Probably should have had a safety, but you just went the length of the field. No, you're not going to get points. Like you're
yeah,
going to get a field goal. That's it. You're not getting a touchdown.
yeah,
And to stop them on the one twice, like back to back runs, and they just stonewalled, that is you because they're exhausted at that point.
oh
They're
yeah,
exhausted. They're pissed off at themselves for being like, we just let them go all the way down. So
yeah,
that was great to see.
oh yeah. And I think you had a good point there, with the whole first half being like, dude, this is not going well. This is not going like this is it, kind of. Um, the defense and probably what would you say, two offensive players kept us alive that whole game. Like, if you look at it, if we didn't have the man, the myth, the best college football player in the college football, like, dude, come on, Marvin Harrison Jr.,
Yeah.
bro,
Dude, he's
freak
good.
of nature. Like,
And like
all of his
it's
big
crazy.
plays. like I loved how we started out not going to him just to show, hey, we still have other people that you need to watch out for, you know. But then once we
Yeah.
started hitting
It,
him, dude, he was coming in like I do. How?
I mean,
How is he making half of those catches?
what's also crazy is that he should probably have at least 20 more yards because of at least because of bad throws. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
where Kyle McCord did not throw it where he was supposed to. But what's really gonna help and what's really gonna what it's gonna come down to is the whole with Henderson being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You have that explosibility in the backfield. And I really think that him and
That
Chip
dude.
train them. They are so good together, 1-2 punch. Mayan's good too, but I just saw that Mayan's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But I also think that that's going to be a blessing in disguise. I feel bad for him because he's been battling with injuries for the last 2.5 years, but that now lets Chip and Trey to actually get into rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Get more fluidity with one another, and then also, Ibuka was out again.
Yeah.
So when a Mecha comes back and he's full strength, and it's, hey, you can either double Marvin Harrison Jr. or you can double Emeka Ibuka, but you can't do both.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be helpful. And I think what we keep forgetting, and I know I keep forgetting, is we've been treading with injuries.
Yeah.
So we've been playing these games with injuries. We haven't really been full force. And with having Travion Henderson come back, with these weapons be healthy, it takes a lot of pressure off of McCord. And
And
so
allows
even when
him
he
to kind of
makes
get
those
into his
mistakes,
rhythm. Yeah.
yes. And so when he makes those mistakes, it's not a big deal and we still end up winning. But I still stand by he should be growing at this point,
Mm-hmm.
not regressing. And that's what
Yeah.
concerns me.
Do you think it seems like he's regressing because of the games before Wisconsin and then going and playing at Wisconsin, which I mean, like, dude,
I could
Wisconsin is
I
one of
could
the
see
biggest
that.
and they get
Yeah, it's
one of
a
the
it's a great
loudest
atmosphere.
in
Yeah.
like
You got
the
jump
Big
around
Ten, the
going and
country.
at the
Oh
end of the
yeah,
third.
like
But here's what I'll
do you
say to
think it's
that
just
though.
because of where they were? Like, do you think if they were to play, let's say Indiana at Indiana, like, do you think he would still struggle, or do you think it was because of the atmosphere he was in?
Well, I think it's definitely the atmosphere to some degree. I mean, we gotta credit that. Playing at Wisconsin is very different than playing at Purdue. Playing at Michigan is very different than playing at Indiana. Even playing at Michigan State is very different than playing at Rutgers. I mean, let's be real. Let's call it what it is. The atmosphere plays a role. But you also look at some of the games that he played before then. He already played against Penn State. He already played against Notre
Notre
Dame
Dame.
at Notre Dame. And granted, that's earlier in the season, but like the he stepped up in the Notre Dame game, and we were like, "Whoa, this is a
Yeah,
first year quarterback. Like this is a first year starter. Like, okay, okay." And then Penn State, it was kind of like, you're struggling. Like Penn State's defense is good. Don't get me wrong. Wisconsin's defense is good too. Uh, but it's kind of alarming to some degree of, yeah, you're in a big time game at night at Wisconsin. You're going against a coach that knows your program really well since he's a former player and a former coach for you. But
shout out
he
Fickell.
looked he he looked worse than he did against better teams. And that to me is a little concerning. And it wasn't the whole, I don't care about his stats because he really is a facilitator. He's more of a
Yeah,
field like general and manager than anything because of how many weapons are around him. It's the why are you forcing when it's goal to go? Why are you forcing a ball in the corner of the end zone rather than just throwing away and taking points? Because you
yeah,
left points on the board there. Why are you staring down Marvin Harrison Jr. every single play? Why are you taking a strip sack fumble rather than throwing the ball away and putting us, again, out of field goal range and losing the ball? And then why are you having intentional grounding multiple times in a game? Like
yeah,
that's what I'm looking at. I don't care if he doesn't throw for 300 yards, that's fine. We can win with him throwing for 150 yards because of how explosive everybody is.
yeah,
But it's more of the he's having more mental mistakes as the season's going on. And to Ryan Day's defense, he's yelling at him.
Yeah.
Like he's getting
Yeah.
on him on the sideline. Like this is the most Ryan Day has ever showed emotion. And so to that degree, I applaud him because he should be frustrated to some degree.
Oh yeah. I mean, it almost to me seems like it's a beginner's luck, and it's kind of starting to wear out.
It's catching up to him.
Yeah. It's
Well,
almost
and
like,
also they
he
have tape
showed up
on him now,
during
right?
Notre Dame, and then, it was like, oh wow,
He's not bad.
he's not bad. Like if
Like
he keeps playing like this, I'm not worried about not making it to the playoffs. But then this happens, and I'm like,
yeah, it's a little
ooh,
concerning.
it
So
is.
we'll
And
see. I mean, we only got 4 games left, right? We're already 8-0. We got Rutgers, Minnesota, or sorry, Michigan State, Minnesota, and then Michigan.
yeah.
So it's put up or shut up time.
Hmm.
Like it's simple as that. So
It's
we'll see what happens. And what people don't realize is at Rutgers, they're going to give them a better game than people realize. If
mhm.
I remember correctly, Rutgers only has 2 losses on the year, and I can look it up.
uh,
Maybe they have 3 at this point, but
actually,
they are a much better team than people think.
yeah, they're 6-2.
Yeah,
Topwood, baby. Topwood.
like, and you have a very, very experienced, good head coach in Greg Schiano, who knows exactly how to play big time teams. So, I mean, this is going to be a game that like we're watching this one, right? Like
Oh,
you got to get through this
this
one.
is
Michigan State is going to be fine. Minnesota, you should be fine. You're at home for both of them, so
eh,
those should be tune-up games. I mean, if you've
if
watched
we're
them this year,
regressing, buddy. Oh my god.
dude, those two, Michigan State and Minnesota, fucking suck this year.
Well, I mean, Michigan
I've
State's
watched
coming
their
off
games.
of
They just got
some stuff
shellacked by
last year
Michigan. Yeah.
with some players, and
Well, and their
then
coach got fired this year. So again, like
yeah,
the whole thing is they're in another transition year. You have them at home. Minnesota has 0 weapons this year. They beat Iowa on a bullshit call,
yeah.
and you have them at home. So it's really survive Rutgers, tune up against Michigan State and Minnesota for that showdown in Ann Arbor. And we'll see what happens. And
Which
hopefully,
hey,
oh man,
even if we do lose to Michigan, it
they
might be
might not be able to
vacated.
go.
It might be vacated, baby.
Dude, they might not be able to go. If you guys haven't been keeping up, we said we were going to talk about it again. The scandal got more interesting
Worse,
to
so
say. I
worse.
mean, really. So basically, what we have seen is, and what we have heard and read is this dude from Michigan paid retired D3 coaches to go scout, take videos, and send it to him. And then he paid him, like, I guess, via Venmo or PayPal. Um, and Central Michigan is now investigating pictures and video of what appears to be this Michigan guy on their sideline in their gear scouting Michigan State in the season opener.
Yeah.
And so the whole question is if it is him, how did he get on their sideline on the field with a game pass?
Yeah. Like,
Like I don't know what's gonna happen. And what I also saw is that if stuff keeps coming up like this, then there might be a postseason ban this season for Michigan.
dude,
So it might come down to in the
honestly,
next couple of weeks, we might hear that Michigan can't compete postseason anyway. And even if they beat us in Ann Arbor, we still go to Indianapolis to win the Big Ten championship. Which I don't want to have it. I want to beat them in
yeah.
order to go there.
Oh, dude,
But I think that would
I
be
need to.
hilarious.
I feel
I
like
think that
if
would be
we don't beat
hilarious.
Michigan, it's almost like oh, hey, like, I
Oh, we have
swear,
to hear about it forever. We'd have
every
to hear about
Michigan,
it
yeah,
forever.
every Michigan fan has been like, oh yeah, we've won what? How many of the past? How many? I'm like, okay. Do we want to talk about that stint before that, or
Oh my God, what
do,
was the
we
what,
just it was like
dude? It
if
was
you
a
go
lot.
back to
I should
Tressel,
know
it
this.
goes
I
all the way
should know
back
this,
to
and I
Tressel right after R retired. Wait,
I
I think I have my
should.
timeline messed up there, but I'm pretty sure um before Harbaugh, And then there was another coach before that is when it
So,
started.
oh my gosh.
Hey. Oh
Um,
my,
okay,
probably a squirrel.
so all right, let's go. So let's
Hey.
just start in 2000. We'll talk about this real quick. In 2000, we're just starting at the, beginning of the century. Michigan
Beginning of
won.
time.
All right, Michigan won, and then 01, 02, Ohio State. I'm just this will be easier if I just count how many times Michigan won in this in this century. Oh, 03, so they're at 2. And then there's a whole line of green, and then they won in 2011 by yeah.
And
And
then
then
another
they've won
line
the
of
last 2.
green
So 5 times. They won 5 times
the
in
past,
the last
what, 23?
23, yeah, 23 years. 5 times.
It's
I
like, all right, so you guys don't have a good record against us. And the past two wins have been via knowing our signs. Hmm.
Well, that's what it looks like, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean that's what it looks like. Also, I'm confused about this. I felt like we played more than this. It says that the football history versus University of Michigan from November 25th to 19 or sorry, November 25th, 1989 to November 26th, 2022. We are 19, 13, and 1. But I
Yeah.
thought that Michigan held the all-time record for some reason.
No.
Yeah, it
Um,
says meetings total 118. So that one just goes back as
in
much.
1989.
Yeah, it just goes
But
back so
that's
far.
there's also that big stint before. I'm trying to
Well,
think
their
of the
first meeting
Michigan
was in
coach.
1897.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure they've played every year since then.
They played every year for a while.
Oh, fun
Um,
fact for everybody, just because hey, why not? Script Ohio was not actually first performed by it was actually performed by the University of Michigan.
is it really? Why'd that ruin
Mm-hmm.
that for me? Fuck them. Taking
I
shit.
forget what it was for, but it was like they did it as like a tribute or something.
Yeah, well, fuck them. I don't really need their goddamn tribute. Okay, so the series as of right now is 60, 51, and 6
Yeah,
in
1932.
favor of Michigan. So Michigan has won 9 more times. But if they vacate,
Hey!
it's only 7. Oh my gosh. That's just oh my god, that's nuts. That's just freaking nuts.
Dude, I think
Uh
it's kind of funny
oh,
how
you ready for this? This is comparisons as of right now. That can't be right. Does Michigan really have more national titles? I don't believe that.
yeah.
Do they really? I don't I'm gonna look this up now.
Michigan was like disgusting. I
Yeah,
pissing me off. I don't
before the
wait.
world wars, so they can all fuck off.
No. I'm trying to think of this guy.
Holy shit, they do. Ready? Okay, here you go. Claimed national titles, and they have 11. Ready? 1901, 1902, 1903, 1904, 1918, 1923, 1932, 1933,
Oh,
1947, 1948, 1997. They don't matter. I'm sorry. They don't matter.
all right.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, those are before the world wars. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Hey, you could at
Be
least hit
no.
people in that league.
All right. Anyway,
I'm just kidding.
comparison though, because I'm like fired up on this, and we still have 3 weeks before we play them. College football appearances: Michigan 2, Ohio State 5. Bowl appearances in general: Michigan 49, Ohio State 53. Postseason bowl record: Michigan 21 and 28, Ohio State 26 and 27. Rose Bowl appearances: Michigan 20, Ohio State 16. Rose Bowl wins: Michigan 8, Ohio State 9. Big Ten division titles, Michigan 3, Ohio State 10. Big Ten titles, Michigan 44, Ohio State 39. Consensus All Americans, Michigan 85, Ohio State 90. Heisman Trophy winners, Michigan 3, Ohio State 7.
Wait,
All
does that a double count or is it technically eight?
I think that's I think it's technically 8 if you count Archie twice. Yeah, I think it's because you got Eddie, Troy, Archie. I should know. I want to say Janowitz for some reason.
Cassidy.
Yes, Hopalong Cassidy. God, I should know these. I really should.
And I know
Yep,
it's
Janowitz,
yeah,
Horvath.
okay.
Um, how many Heisman? So it says 7. Ohio State 7 Heisman Trophy winners, ties with Notre Dame for most. Okay, most winners. Horvath was the first one. Um,
So it's
so
Horvath,
this
Cassidy.
so it
Um
goes. So Smith was the latest one, right? Yep.
yeah.
So Troy Smith, Archie Griffin, Eddie George, Howard Cassidy,
Oh,
Janowitz, and Horvath. So counting Archie twice makes it 7.
okay.
So
I'll
could have
take
been
it.
just Fields too.
Only school with two, baby.
Yeah,
Or
and Caleb Williams is gonna get it again.
watch it. Watch it.
But anyway,
Marvin
all
Harrison Jr.
time,
for
all
Heisman. Let's
time,
go.
all time win percentage. Michigan 0.731. Ohio State 0.734. So
Actually, though, considering all the games that are taken into account there, uh, that's a decent percentage, I would think.
no, they both have over 900 wins. The big difference is Ohio, like I think Michigan's played more games. I'm just looking at the numbers. Um, but yeah, both of them are over 900 wins. Michigan's almost at 1,000 wins as a program.
Oh damn.
Yeah, like Ohio State's at 953 right now, so a couple more years to get
So
there.
what? That's
But that's impressive nonetheless for both programs. Like that's amazing. I am thoroughly
yeah. I'll
impressed with
take.
that. But speaking of these two arch rivals, we're gonna get into the rankings. But we'll keep an eye on the investigation. But we're gonna get into the rankings because committee threw us a little curveball with those first rankings.
Yeah, honestly, I was not expecting the committee to pick the teams that they did in the order that they did because Ohio State number one. God
Oh, we're just gonna
damn.
do it. We're just gonna
Yeah.
go with
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'll take it. I'll take it.
it.
I mean, I'm not gonna hate on it. I mean,
I
I'm
mean,
pretty. Do I
I
think
don't,
we are there?
no,
Possibly,
no.
possibly.
I
If
don't think
everyone
we're the
else is in
number one team
shambles,
right
if
now.
everyone else is in shambles, we're
I
also
mean,
in shambles, but less in
yeah.
shambles.
I mean, here's the reality with everything. It came down to like what people have been saying for the last few weeks is you look at the top 3 teams and not a lot separates them because yeah, your pro Michigan fans are going to look at it and be like, "Oh, well, this is what Ohio State did against Indiana. This is what Michigan did against Indiana." Well, Ohio State played Indiana first game of the season with a new quarterback.
Yeah,
You played them in the begin or in the middle of the season. They're struggling. They've already given up on the year. So
yeah,
it's completely different games. You look at Georgia. Georgia doesn't have their best weapon right now. Don't really know when he's going to come back, but they also haven't played anybody.
yeah,
They haven't played anybody yet. Their best win is Kentucky, and since losing, Kentucky has been awful.
yeah.
Now, I will say they have a pretty good matchup this weekend with Missouri. So this will be
Oh
a true
yeah,
test. It's just it's at home, so they luck out with that regard. But if they beat Missouri, kudos to them. I think they still have to play Tennessee. If they beat Tennessee, kudos to them. And then, if they go on and they beat Alabama in the SEC championship game, which is what it's looking like right now, then yeah, they deserve to be number 1. But
yeah,
as of right now, their resume is not one of the best.
Yeah, and
And
that's
that's what it comes down to.
yeah, and I think I don't want to say this, but I think the committee did good.
I think the committee
Like
stood by what
that,
they've been saying they look at. Like
yeah.
they finally had a year where, Alabama's not undefeated right now.
So you can't just have the
Oklahoma's
automatic
not
number
undefeated.
one.
Well,
Because
it's
I mean,
more of
realistically, when you look at the top, or I should say, when you look at the committee's rankings, more than likely you're really only paying attention to like the top six. Everything after
yeah,
that, you
and
could just BS
what's
through it.
crazy what's crazy is I mean, I'm looking at some of these teams in the top 10 though. Alabama already beat Ole Miss. So some crazy stuff would happen for Ole Miss to be able to get in. Alabama still has to play LSU. LSU is number 14 right now. So LSU could disrupt some stuff right now. But I'm looking at this and Alabama and Oklahoma have, they have a clear path to the playoff, just like Oregon and Washington, who are probably going to play each other at the end of the season in a rematch for the Pac-12 championship. So you're looking at it, and honestly, and I'd say the same thing for Texas because Texas and Oklahoma are probably going to play each other again. So you look at it, the top 9 teams, any of those 9 teams can get in. So this year is actually closer than it's been. In the past,
Yeah,
it's, well, these are the 4 top teams and nobody else is really close. You're looking at right now, top 9 teams are all pretty darn close. And it's just a matter of who's going to lose when. And right now, they're set up 1 through 9 based on resume. That's
yeah,
what it is. And in that regard, you can't argue with it. I mean, you can. You can if you want. I mean, you can do whatever you want. But when you look at resume, Ohio State has bigger wins than Georgia and Michigan and Florida State.
yeah,
And Washington. So among the undefeated, they should be number one. Now, I don't know how you stand on this, but I think Washington should be ahead of Florida State. That's just me, though.
yeah. I would 100% agree with that. Just because I mean, Florida State, ACC, like
They
I've
haven't
just
played anybody.
I feel like the ACC, like within conference, you can look amazing. But then when you go and play any other
Other
school
team. Yeah.
that's like decent, but not an ACC school, it's always like a blowout.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I,
mean,
I,
okay,
I know I
granted,
pulled this up the other day, but go ahead. Sorry.
like Clemson, they have had a couple years where it's like, hey, you actually weren't too bad. But I mean, outside of that, like I think most of the hype around that team was Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And before
and
that, it was Deshaun Watson. So,
yeah, so it's like they had it's almost like Florida State's run when Jameis Winston was there. Yeah, undefeated, but like okay,
then they go up
maybe
against,
not like that, but
then they go up against
um
Oregon and get smacked.
yeah.
I
It's
mean, like you bring up a good point, and I just pulled it up. Florida State, they have, so what is saving their resume is that they played LSU in the first game of the season. All right, and they
yeah,
beat LSU. LSU's in the top 15 right now, right? Yeah, they're 14. So that helps them. But you look at this, Southern Miss, Boston College, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Duke, Wake Forest, Pitt, um, Miami, Florida, North Alabama, Florida. No other team is ranked.
yeah, it's
They have zero conference foes who are ranked. And when you compare that to the teams like Ohio State, who have Michigan, Penn State, and Notre Dame, and you have Michigan, who has Ohio State and Penn State, and then you have Georgia, who has Missouri, and then is probably they I didn't know this. Georgia, after this week against Missouri, they play Ole Miss, and then they play Tennessee. So they got 3 ranked games in a row. So
yeah.
their resume could get a lot stronger. Um, Washington has
They in the
like they
Pac-12 and they out here running it.
yeah, like they
And I
they
mean,
beat
the
Oregon.
Pac-12 right now, okay, not right now. Like 4 weeks ago, roughly, they were pretty much all ranked. they were all
Yeah,
like top
no.
25, but now they've gone in and started playing in conference games, and now
They started beating each other is what has
yeah,
happened. They
yeah,
started beating each other, and so you're looking at Oregon and Washington are clearly the best two.
hmm,
Washington though still has to play Oregon State, Utah, and USC.
which I don't think will be
It's not going
cakewalks,
to be a walk in the park.
but I
Like,
think they how they're playing right now, with um Penix Jr., right?
yep, yep, Penix, yep, Michael
He
Penix.
like, dude, I feel
He's
like they
good.
could conquer the fucking world.
Yeah, no, he's good. And
Like, can we
what's
trade
frustrating,
quarterbacks? Trade
what's
quarterbacks?
frustrating is I'm looking at this right now, and I mean, this is just my personal opinion. So people are going to disagree with me. That's okay. I mean, you have your own opinion. But I look at this and I view Florida State kind of as the team that's going to get in because their schedule sucks.
Yeah.
And
I
this is
mean, there's
why,
always. I
this
feel like
is
there's always been
why.
one team that does that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And so they're going to be the team this year. And confidence is a scary thing. So like they're undefeated, they're rolling, they could have a lot of confidence. They can come in and they could shock the world, right? But when you're just looking at it right now, you're kind of looking at it and like I also remind myself that I picked them in my final four at the beginning of the season because I was like, oh yeah, like I do think they're gonna be what like they're gonna be good. But it does frustrate me when like a team's not like I don't know, they don't play anybody.
Yeah, and a
But
lot
this
of
is
their wins are
why
close
yeah,
to
and this is why we
unranked
need the
opponents.
expanded playoffs, right? Like this is why
Yeah,
we need the expansion
100%
so that
agree.
this doesn't happen.
Next year, baby.
Um,
Next
yeah,
year.
and so like they could get in and like run the tables, but I kind of look at it and I'm like, do I think they'd beat Ohio State? I don't know. I think it'd be close. Do I
Yeah,
think they beat Georgia?
probably
No.
not.
Do I think they beat Michigan? No, because
No.
Michigan already has their signs. Washington, I think would beat them. Oregon, I think would beat them. Give me a healthy Quinn Ewers in Texas. Texas is going to beat them. Alabama's going to beat them. Oklahoma, I think, is going to end up beating them. Ole Miss, I don't know. Penn State, I don't know. But I'm looking at it. I'm like, in the top nine, I genuinely think that all the teams in the top nine would beat Florida State, but they're undefeated, and
Yeah.
Oregon's not, and Texas isn't, and Alabama isn't, and Oklahoma isn't. So they can't be ahead of Florida State.
Honestly, I think you could almost go back to Notre Dame, go from there. And
Who
so
I
Notre
think
Dame's
Florida State
15.
would lose to.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna. I mean, okay. Besides
Ooh,
Louisville, just because I'm not too familiar with them,
I love
I
how you say Louisville.
Louisville, Louisville.
Sorry, sorry. I
Sorry,
love
I'm a
that you say
northerner.
Louisville.
I'm a
It cracks
northerner.
me up.
Oh, I'm a damn Yankee.
um, but I think you're right. Louisville
Because
and
I mean, you
Missouri
could
would
even
kind of
toss
be.
Tennessee. I okay.
I don't know. I'm not
Hot
confident.
topic.
Tennessee's sketchy. What?
Tennessee is hit or miss. I think that they could beat them if it was at Tennessee.
Okay, what's your
Um,
hot topic?
but Utah,
No,
I
dude, I saw
really
enough this
no.
weekend, dude. No. They don't have a true quarterback. They're a good team. They deserve to be ranked. Scrappy defense. Love watching them play, but their offense is nothing without Cam Rising. It finally has caught up to them. No, nope. I'm not believing in the Utes.
Kind of
But
sounds
on
like Ohio State Buckeyes a little bit right
just the
Defense is
poorer
winning the game,
version.
baby.
It's the poorer version of the Buckeyes. Um, no, like I honestly like I'm looking at all these teams now. Now that you said like expanded, Ole Miss. I mean, let's run through. I already ran through the nine, so like we might as well. Ole Miss against Florida State. I think that'd be a good game.
Yeah, I
Penn
think that would
State.
be a close one with probably Ole Miss
Yeah,
slight
yeah.
advantage.
Well, maybe a slight just because of offense prowess. Florida State, I think, beats Penn State, but it's a close game because Penn State's defense is really good.
Mm.
Missouri, I don't know.
Well,
I haven't
okay,
seen
okay,
enough of them.
okay. Penn State. Okay,
Penn State has no offense.
Yeah, but Florida State runs on their offense.
I mean, yeah, but
I
Penn
think Penn
State
State could
Penn State's
shut that
offense is
down.
okay. I think Penn State's defense would be good. I just think Florida State would outlast them. Like, I
Yeah.
think they would
Okay.
win.
Okay. From an
I would
offensive perspective, yeah. Okay.
like. I just
I
don't
still
think.
think it'd be kind of
I don't
close on
think
there
Penn
a little
State can
bit.
score enough. Like that, and that's
Yeah.
the reality. I don't think they'd score enough. Missouri, I don't know. Louisville, I'm leaning towards. Well, heck, I
Oh
hate
wait,
up
wait.
Louisville.
You're gonna end Missouri?
I
What?
said I don't know. I haven't seen them enough.
You were rolling hot last week. What? What?
Uh, okay, fine. You
Let's
know
go
what?
Mizzou. Let's go Mizzou. I believe in you
Give
guys.
me the Tigers.
Go
What's
Tigers.
interesting is you bring up the Louisville though. I don't know why this. I always forget Louisville's in the ACC. We might see a Louisville. Well, like as of right now, we're gonna see a Louisville Florida State matchup in the ACC championship game.
Yeah. As long as
So
wait. For some reason I want to say Louisville's got a couple big games. But I could be wrong. Actually I think it's just which I
Virginia
don't
Tech,
think that's gonna be
Virginia,
a
Miami, Florida, and Kentucky.
Miami of
So
Florida. I think that might be
they both got Miami, Florida. That's what's interesting. Miami, Florida could play spoiler to two of these teams, which is
I
hilarious.
know.
Like I'm rooting for
But
that.
okay, which team do you want them to spoil?
Both.
Okay. You gotta pick one. You gotta
Florida
pick
State.
one.
Florida
Yeah.
State. Get Florida
Okay.
State out of there.
Okay.
Because I want to see the purple Washington Huskies in the damn playoff. All right.
I mean,
That's what I want.
I don't think they would
This
not
is
make it because I mean the Huskies are
I mean, yeah, Ohio State,
hot
Michigan, one of
right
them's gonna
now.
lose. So um, but I don't know. I'm looking at like LSU. I don't know, dude. It's just when I've watched Florida
All
State.
right, take out the coach bias here. What do
Okay,
you
I'm
think?
Brian Kelly. I think LSU, it really depends on where it is. I mean, also
Mhm.
Florida State already beat them this year, so that's tough to beat a team for a second time. But also, like when it comes down to some of these rankings, once we're past the top five, past the top 10, it comes down to where you're playing. If you're playing at LSU, give me LSU.
Oh
Give me
yeah,
LSU all day.
you gonna
Same thing
go
with
to
Notre
play in
Dame.
Death Valley? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's game.
if it's Florida State at LSU at night, Florida State at Notre Dame at night, give me the Tigers, give me the Fighting Irish. I think they will
Yeah,
beat Florida State. If it's at Florida State, I'm leaning towards Florida State. I mean, when it comes down to matchups like this,
yeah,
Oregon State, I don't think Oregon State has a chance. Tennessee, it would have to be at Tennessee at night. Utah, no chance. UCLA, no chance. USC, I don't freaking know anymore because they're so hot and cold. It's like an icy hot commercial with Shaq.
it's
All
true.
right.
It's so
Like, I
true.
don't know what I'm going to get. And then
They're either showing up
Kansas,
and just like wrecking everyone, or it's like,
where they suck.
oh, we were supposed to play, weren't we?
Yeah.
Oh
And then
man,
Kansas, I would say Florida State over
yeah.
Kansas, Florida State over Oklahoma State. Kansas State, I have an irrational love for Kansas State. So give me the Wildcats.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
then Tulane and Air Force, they just can't hang with Florida State.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at it and like I don't know. I feel like if we take Georgia and do the same thing, or take Ohio State and Michigan and do the same thing, or do Alabama or Washington and Oregon and do the same thing, and like look at like who we take in a game against all these other teams, we're probably taking Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Washington, Oregon for the majority. But for whatever reason, when I look at Florida State and I look at some of these matchups, I'm like, no,
I
like
mean, they
I'm
almost
taking
lost
the
to
other team.
Boston College. They won by one against Clemson, one
They
touchdown.
should have lost to Clemson.
They should have
They should
lost.
have. They should have.
Um, and I just part of me thinks we're starting to see a leveling playing field.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I
But
agree.
do you think that that's NIL in there, or do you think we're just hitting a point in college football where you gotta get the other team signs to be successful? Sorry,
Is
no
it really
shade,
fair
no
then?
shade.
Is it really
Not
a level playing field at that point?
really.
Um,
Not really.
I I
But
would
like to get that
say,
competitive advantage, I mean, Michigan
yeah,
went out of their way to do some stuff. Like, but
yeah.
do you think we're getting to a point where everything's like leveled out to where we're not having those dynasty teams? Or do you,
I
because
I think
I
it
mean,
is.
I look at it like Alabama, like Ohio State. I mean, Georgia's starting to catch fire, but after that's post Alabama's what, 10, 15-year reign on the conference. Like,
Yeah, and then you had the occasional LSU in Florida pop up.
yeah, but I mean, for the most part, it was roll tide roll.
Yeah,
SEC, like there was no other competition there. But now we're seeing Georgia come up. We're seeing Texas will soon be in the SEC. I don't know how they'll do there,
all right,
but
can we
I
just
mean,
take a second and look at the top 10 and look at next year? SEC teams, you have Georgia, Texas, Bama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss. You got five. All right, Big Ten teams, Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, Oregon. You got four with then Penn State right on the outside.
don't count Michigan in there. They might not be
uh,
allowed to be ranked.
but but I'm looking at this and like I understand we still have like they're still in the Pac-12. Pac-12 still a thing for this year. Texas and Oklahoma is still in the Big 12 right now. But people need to realize that starting next year, it is going to be Big Ten SEC. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And your occasional like
ACC
one
school
I mean,
coming in like, oh, we're
look at
big and bad, but then
dude,
getting
like
clapped out by,
look at the top 15.
yeah.
Literally,
No,
look at the
yeah.
top
It's
15 right now.
literally,
You have two ACC schools, an ACC affiliate that should just join the Big Ten, and every other school is an SEC or Big Ten team.
yeah.
I mean, look at the top 25 in general. Ready? We'll start with 25. Air Force, Mountain West, Tulane, number 24. That is American. Kansas State, Big 12. Oklahoma State, Big 12. Kansas, Big 12. USC, UCLA. All right. That's Big 10. Utah is going to be Big 12. Tennessee, SEC. Oregon State, who knows? I don't know what they're going to do next
Still
year.
deciding.
And then you got the 15 that we just talked about.
Yeah.
ACC affiliate, SEC, ACC, SEC, Big 10, SEC, 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 Big 10, Big 10, ACC, Big 10, SEC, Big 10.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
It's,
talking about 2/3 of the rankings are going to be SEC and Big 10 teams.
yeah. And then the
I
other
don't think people actually
third is
realize
just
that.
random
Yeah,
conferences
I
almost at
don't
this
think people
point.
actually realize this.
Do you think that with how, like, I mean, we'll obviously see next year how everything plays out. Do you think that we could see ACC dissolve next? Because I feel
I
like
mean,
that would be the next possible one, just because I mean, their was it their marketing revenue is
their TV
non-existent.
deal is yeah, no, it's
It's
awful.
trash. So it's like if you want to go pro, you're not gonna probably go ACC. More than likely, you'll probably end up going an SEC
Well,
or a Big Ten
eh,
school at
you
that
you
point.
bring that
So
up
it's
and you bring that up and you can just look at the like the whole marketing and the whole like market value and the whole TV revenue. That's not gonna like look make recruits go, ooh, where do I want to go? What's gonna make recruits is you just brought up NFL prospect. All right, if I go to Florida State, am I gonna be playing in primetime games every Saturday?
oh, oh
No, I go to a great school. I get a bunch of NIL money, but I'm not playing the U in the 80s or 90s or the
yeah,
early 2000s, right? I'm not playing against that version of Miami. I'm not playing against the Clemsons that was like what 5, 6, 7 years ago.
yeah,
Like I'm not playing against those teams. I'm not playing against anybody. But if I go to Ohio State, I got Washington, I got Oregon, I got Michigan, I got Penn State, I got UCLA, I got USC. All right, probably still schedule Notre Dame. Same goes for Michigan. All right, you got all these teams. Go to Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean you're playing in big time games every single weekend because also some teams that aren't ranked that still bring in a good game, Wisconsin,
yeah.
Iowa. I would even say Florida, right?
Mhm.
Florida's down a little bit this year. There's a big name.
Yeah,
A&M, that's a crazy atmosphere.
yeah,
Kentucky's not bad. I mean, you're talking about even your unranked opponents are big games.
yeah. And that's okay. So I've never been to Kentucky, never been to the stadium, never sat through a
It's
game,
not bad.
but
I've never been there for a game. I've just seen it.
I would say that the stadium atmosphere there to me would resemble like a Clemson.
Oh no, I've never been to that Death Valley,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just think their stupid rock thing is stupid. And for people to hit the rock and then run down the goddamn hill,
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I just don't like Clemson.
See, and when you
Hey,
called
I'll
it
admit
that
it, I
Death
don't.
Valley, nah,
Well, because they call it Death Valley.
there's only one Death Valley, baby.
They actually
Go
argue about that.
Tigers. Go Tigers. Go
Well, technically,
Tigers.
Clemson are the Tigers, so.
Okay, well, fuck Clemson. Fuck Clemson. Fuck.
Um, no, I mean it'll be interesting. But you posed the question of will the ACC fall next? I think so, and I think because of this, Florida State, Clemson, and Miami won out. And I've heard that North Carolina is kind of like, should we go as well? But the question is, where do they go?
Mm-hmm.
Because it just comes back to what we talked about. The Big Ten is not going to take
Everyone.
Miami. They're
Nope.
not going to take Clemson. They really don't want to take Florida State. The only ones they would probably want to take are North Carolina and Duke if Duke was willing to leave.
Yeah.
So I could
Those
see
would be
the
the only ones worth the
ACC.
time, and you're not taking them
Yeah.
for football. You're taking them for their academia, and you're also taking them for
And
other
so
sports.
in that regard, it would be interesting. I could see
Dude, the
the
Big Ten in basketball, if those two came over,
oh my
gosh,
yeah. Well,
that
and
would
so
be
that's what I could see the ACC restructuring because
okay.
if Florida State and Clemson and Miami won out, the only logical place for them to go is the SEC. Now, the SEC would have to accept it, and I find Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and Kentucky really fighting against that, and Tennessee. I could see them fighting against those three teams, so it would be interesting. But that would be the only thing that would make sense. But then if they leave, then why should Notre Dame stay an
Yeah,
affiliate? Why should Stanford, who just came over, stay? You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like I could see both of them then bolting and going to the Big Ten, forcing the ACC to evolve and restructure even more. Because if Stanford bolts, then Cal's going to bolt, and if Cal can't get into the Big Ten, they'll just link back up with Oregon State and Washington State with whatever's going on out there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's just it is crazy to look at the current rankings and being like, if this was next year, this is how lopsided college football
Hmm.
is.
Yeah. It, that's it's kind of scary to think about, but it's also like, well, I don't want to say scary, but it's like, do we really want all the talent to be spread out between basically two divisions, or do we want to try to spread it so hey the ACC is better, or hey maybe the ACC dissolves and those straggler Pac-12 teams end up making a new conference?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
that's probably got to be a long task to get through
Yeah,
uh the whole process of it, because I mean
yeah,
you got to start a
we'll,
conference and get deals and
and
do all
we'll
that stuff.
see. We'll see what
Should
happens.
should we start our own conference?
I'm not taking on that.
Too much stress for
I
not
yeah,
the
no,
not the
God
worth.
no. No. So I mean, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. But looking at our rankings right now, so we have our first week. We still have many weeks to go. Not really many, but still some few to go.
Yeah,
Um, who do you think? Who is your final four as of right now? Your semifinal matchups. Who do you think's the national champ matchup and winner as of right now? So one, two, three, four, and who you got going all the way?
part of me, because you brought it up, and I've been thinking about it. Louisville. All right.
Oh shit!
So
Okay.
I
Oh
don't
my
think they're gonna make it to
god.
the playoff. However, I think that they will probably upset Florida State, the conference playoff for the East.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that I think would take Florida State out of it. I don't even
Okay.
view number 3 as being there. So that gives you Ohio State, Georgia, Washington, and you can't do Oregon. I almost would say Texas
I
forever.
almost want an expanded playoff right now for all these
Yeah,
different
like
games.
because I
Like,
mean
I'm looking at this,
after
I'm like, this would be so fun. Like,
I mean besides Air Force, top 5 schools are undefeated. Michigan's in their own turmoil, so you're looking at 4. However, I don't think Florida State can hold out the rest of the season not take an L. I don't know what it is. I haven't even watched any Louisville games to be able to say I think Louisville can take them. But I mean, I just feel like Florida State going all the way, going to the playoff, it's just a waste. Like you're essentially sending a team there that's gonna, oh hey, we're big and bad. All right, you got blown out 53-10. So you're big and bad, all right. Good luck next year, kid. Like, I don't know. The ACC is like a chihuahua. All bark, no bite, or at least if they do bite you, you
oh
just
my
kind of punch it and
God.
then it's done, you know?
Okay, I need that shirt. The ACC logo on a chihuahua. I need that now. ACC is a chihuahua.
Can we make merch? Hit it
All
below.
right, so you're saying you got Ohio State, Georgia, Washington, and Texas is what you
Yeah.
think your Final Four is
I
going to
think
be
those are going to end up being the final 4.
in that order. In that order, one, two, three, four.
That's where it gets tough because I think Georgia, based on their schedule the rest of the year, I think that you could, if they win out and, aren't, don't have any super close games, I think you could almost argue Georgia number 1, Ohio State
Okay,
2,
okay.
Washington 3, Texas 4. But
So Georgia, Texas is a semifinal, and Oregon, Washington. So who you
no,
got?
Ohio State, Washington.
Oh, sorry, it's an O. It's
Yeah.
fine.
See, I
Same
got you.
thing.
I got you. I knew what you're talking about. Um,
I'm just ready for
okay.
that rematch
So
between
if we
Oregon
if
and
we play this
Washington.
out and say we got Ohio State versus Texas, buddy. um,
Oh,
basically
okay.
you're
I was
watching
like, wait a
Ohio
second.
State play Texas, or you're watching Ohio State play um, Washington, and both of those look like L's to me. Based on this past week playing Wisconsin,
Okay.
you throw Washington in there, the defense cannot hold you for 4 quarters, and
Yeah, I mean
I don't
they got
think
to
that's
grow up.
possible.
They got to grow
Texas,
up.
I mean, granted, Texas
Texas doesn't
forever,
have Quinn
but
Ewers,
like
so
Quinn's out. I kind of like that just because I'm not a big Quinn guy, but I mean he's pretty good. I just wasn't a big fan of the whole let me snatch this money real quick at Ohio State and then transfer real quick. It's like, oh, okay, cool, 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 cool. But that's my gripe there. I do think that we Ohio State would have a better chance against Texas. I'd say Ohio State beats Texas, and then Ohio State goes to play Georgia.
so you're giving Georgia a three-peat.
Yeah, dude. I mean, okay, granted they are missing um
Brock
some
Bowers.
Brock Bowers, missing another guy too.
I don't know. I don't watch Georgia football. I refuse.
I don't, but I saw
I watch it
the
here and
something
there. I
came
don't
up.
actually refuse.
But I'm pretty sure they're missing like 2 or 3 big guys for them. But I mean, Ohio State's been playing the injury game for a while, so I mean, I'll say Georgia
Okay.
or Washington
I think that's fair.
taking it.
Um, I think that's
You
fair.
could
I'm looking
argue
at
Ohio
this.
State, but it's kind
They
of a
got to grow. They
stretch.
got to show you first. They got
Yeah,
to show you
I just haven't
consistency
seen
on the
anything.
offensive.
If I see Ohio State play phenomenally these next 4 weeks, eh,
You got 4 weeks.
4 weeks, yeah, the next four
Yep.
weeks,
Yeah,
I
and then you
think
got
they got a
championship
shot.
week.
But
Um,
playing
No,
playoffs
that's fair.
to and national championship, I don't think Kyle's ready. And
Yeah,
that's
I
going to
mean,
be a big factor in there. Unless if the transfer out of Oregon State, I can't think of your name. Sorry. Um, unless if
he's not getting that. They're gonna ride Kyle McCord until the wheels fall off. So we'll see. He's got to grow up.
yeah,
I'm looking at these rankings right now. I'm gonna play the whole card of Michigan's ineligible,
that
but
my man.
I mean we'll see.
Hey, it might be true. It might be true.
But I'm looking at some of these potential matchups. I think Florida State's too much for Louisville. If that's the matchup right now, I think Florida State wins out. They're 13-0 going into this thing. Um, Georgia. Now, again, Ohio State and Georgia have both shown weaknesses all year. I think Ohio State is driven enough and finally has a good enough defense that they're going to figure it out. The last couple of years, they've been relying on offense. Now they can take their foot off the gas. The defense is playing exactly how it was under Urban the last time a natty was taken. I think Ohio State, I really do. And if they lose to Michigan, I could see that happening. But with Michigan not being tested really until Penn State really not looking like what they were, I think Ohio State wins out. Um, I don't trust Georgia. I don't. I just
Really?
don't. And I think if they got to go through the buzzsaw of they play Missouri and then Ole Miss and then Tennessee, I think they might come out on top of all those. But
But then they still got to play Alabama.
it seems like Alabama is finally figuring it out. I think Alabama comes out of the SEC, and then I think Oregon beats Washington in that rematch, comes out of the Pac-12. Now it's the whole they split head to head, but Oregon's the champ. I think your final four is going to be Ohio State 1 because of resume, Florida State 2, and then I think they're going to have to put Alabama 3, Oregon 4, which I don't necessarily want. But I think I could also see since Oregon's ahead of Alabama right now, I could see Oregon 3, Alabama 4. Um, Either way, what's funny is I'm looking at that now, and if it's Florida State 2 and Oregon 3 and Ohio State 1 and Alabama 4, it's the same matchups the last time Ohio State won a national championship.
Hey,
And I didn't even
maybe it's
think
a
about
sign.
that.
Maybe
You know what?
maybe
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
go
Ohio
Bucks
State's gonna play Oregon
2023.
in the.
Daddy, baby. Let's get
You know what?
it.
Now I'm pulling for that. Now I want that to
Honestly,
happen. So I'm locking it in.
I could see that happening. You don't think
I mean, so many things
Washington
could happen.
can come out on top?
No, I think they can. Why I picked Oregon is because I watched that game from start to finish, and Oregon, in my opinion, was the better team. If Oregon took the points at the end of the first half, we're talking about Oregon being number 5 and Washington being number 6. So Oregon, I think, is just a little better. And again, they're going to be able to play each other again.
Yeah.
So we'll see if Washington can do it. But that's why I am leaning towards Oregon right now. I like Michael Penix Jr. I heard he's uh, at one point he was the favorite for the Heisman. I hope he has a fantastic year still.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like Bo Nix at Oregon and their toughness. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm locking that in now because I want that Final Four now.
Honestly, or it's just gonna come back in our face and it's just gonna be Nick Saban going, I'm back.
I don't even
I'm
think about
back.
that.
Oh no.
With that one, have a great weekend. Hopefully your team wins unless you're a Michigan fan.
Then
We'll see you next time.
yeah. Peace out, guys. Go Bucks.
Oh
What's
man.
up, puppy?
Uh,
Go Bucks.
yes.
Roll Tide, baby.